Okay, let's do this. I haven't prepared this, but I will be on a travel next week, so I really want to have this done. What I want to do today is to introduce an API layer into our application. So there is no practical reason for this, except that I want to force a refactor in it. Of course, for you and later you can have an API layer if you want to integrate these with other things. So like an API layer is useful. It's just that it's not practical for our purposes of our application right now. So if you want to provide, like, for example, an endpoint for other services, or you want to create your own product, your own startup or microservices, this is how you create an API layer in .NET. And this can be also useful if you have not created a .NET API before. I haven't in a couple of months. So it's I'm gonna also start like trying to find how to do it. Now, yeah, so this is our code. Let's open it. I haven't touched this for weeks. So we have our post generator. If you remember, we have like a command line application, and then we have this service here. So what we want to do is create a separate API and the separate command line application. And both of those projects will call or will reuse an SDK. An SDK is like just the development kit. So it's like a library, or it's like common code that can be shared across different things. Usually in real life, what I have seen is that the command line applications use the API directly, and that is kind of a best practice because you can manage and like the authentication is very simple. But I have also seen in production projects where if you want something that is fast, you may want to use an SDK, a library for that. There is an issue, like the libraries can be decompiled. So maybe if you are very, you don't want to release your code and you are really into like the intellectual property of what you are doing, maybe it's not the best, because people can just crack, decompile, hack the code and see how you did it. Of course, I am an open source enthusiast, so I don't worry about that, but probably for certain startups, they don't want to do that, and they want to have like all the code behind an API layer where you cannot see how you do this stuff. So, all right, and then in the process, I will teach you how to do something in Semantic Kernel that is like having your skills in a separate file. And this is usually, I don't think it's in documentation yet, and this was frustrating for me. Like for a couple of days, I was really frustrated with that. So I will teach you how to avoid that frustration, right? So the first thing that we are gonna do, and let's see what we have here. Yeah, so it's gonna create a new API layer. So we're gonna do .NET, and so usually I just look into create a minimal API. I always forget how to do it, but it's something like a template, create new template. Yeah, this one, and it will create a very simple API. So new web o to do API post generator API, and let's see what it does. So there are like templates in the back. I'm sure that there are gonna be some .NET AI templates in the future, maybe with Semantic Kernel, and I'm not sure if you can create your own templates for other projects. Okay, so it appears this little program, and then usually this creates like a hello world. Let's see what else does have. Oh, this is nice. All right, so so the next thing, it's we're gonna add the service of the post generator in this, but we're gonna create the library. So let's create the library, and I'm not sure how to create the library, so let me look into what. Yeah, new class lib. Okay, so let's create this post generator SDK. Boom, it's done. No, it's not done. Yeah, now it's done. All right, so we have this first class. So we are gonna move our post generator service. We are gonna move it here. Remember that we have the namespace post generator. Maybe we can change it to post generator SDK, or you can also do post generator.sdk. In this case, I will just leave it like this. And what else? I will remove the class. This is a public class, so it can be consumed. Oh, and the prompts, I will move this. This is not gonna work, but I will move it. Just let's pretend that it's gonna work. So now we are gonna modify the command line application first and just check if it's still working. In this case, we are gonna use the SDK. We need to add a reference. So in this case, we need to add a reference. I don't know how to add a reference, so let's see. This. Okay, add reference. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do it .NET add, and then we need to say post generator reference to post generator SDK, and then our SDK project. Cool, it worked. So we have our reference here. Now we are using that. We are okay, seems like it's fine. We don't need to modify anything. We just refactor this. Yeah, I think it is fine. Now let's test it. So go to post generator and .NET build. We're gonna just build it. Error, missing space name. Okay, yeah. So what happened is that we have this semantic kernel here, but honestly, I mean, you will need those here as well in the new SDK. So let's just add it. Instead of using the command line .NET add application, what I will do is I will go here and I will just copy here. We don't need the command line. Everything else, I think we are gonna need it, except for dependency injection. I don't think we need that. We are using login here. We're actually not using logger, so maybe we don't need even the logger here with just the semantic kernel. Okay, so let's build it again. Cool, it built. All right, so now let's test it. No, I won't test it because I want to show you the issue later. Let's modify our API. So in our API, we need to add the services, and let's add it here. Look, this is beautiful. You don't need Python and all of that. All right, add a singleton, and remember we already did all of this because we are super cool. And if you have not done dependency injection before, check my previous videos. Oh, we will need to add the reference, so let's do that too. So we're gonna add post generator API, and then we have post generator reference to the SDK. All right, so that add a reference here. Let's see. Yes, so we have a reference. Now we have our API. Let's open program. Yeah, okay. So now we can use this, and then we can add the post generator. So let's just cheat here and then go here and check how to do that. Okay, so we are gonna need these two. And whenever you are copying, pasting code, it is an opportunity for reusing, right? So if you are copy pasting code, maybe there is something that we can reuse. You don't want to duplicate code, so don't do whatever I am doing right now. We cannot get the environment variables from in an API. It is better to use like the application settings, so we are gonna fix that later. Okay, now this is a hello world, which is fine. We are gonna leave it like that, but we are gonna add new. In this case, I'm gonna add post. So my computer had a lapsus. Honestly, this is the times where I miss Linux. Anyway, let's try to continue to see if now she wants to work. If not, maybe it's time to not do it. Okay, so let's just map the post. You saw the ChatGPT there, generate post. Usually, I mean, you can put the verb there, but I mean, it's better if you just do post. It's a little bit weird. Let's put short post. Yeah, I think, or comment, maybe comment. Yeah, let's just generate a comment. And then article, publication. Let's just create a publication. Post is usually used in APIs for create things. So we have the generator service. This is what we need. Dependency injection will automatically inject this. We are gonna have the generate pull request. This is something that ChatGPT is doing, and it's something that is called a DTO. We're gonna see what is that later, but it's simply a class for handle the body of the request. And then we have the generate post, and then we are return it. See, this is beautiful, beautiful. Now we're gonna need to create the generate post DTO, right? So class, and again, this is just like a public class. It's nothing out of the world. What is our namespace? Post generator API. Yeah, okay. Let's see what. Yeah, persona topic style. That works for me. So this is what the user will send in an API in the body request. Then it will arrive here. We are gonna call the post generator service, and it will return the result. That is cool. Okay, this should work except for these variables. So OpenAI model, what I want to do is get this from the app settings JSON. Let's see if GPT's Copilot is. No, this is not what I want. Okay, so usually here you can access the configuration with the builder. You don't need to do anything. I think you can just, let's see. Oh no, it's in SP. Yes. So usually you get this interface automatically, and then you can use all the configuration. So the configuration will look in the app settings, in the environment variables, in all that stuff. And then when you deploy this to the cloud, it automatically will do all that magic. Alright, so and then you can access just by the key. In this case, I will access by Azure model. This will tell me, hey, if that's not available, then just throw in panic exception, which is fine for me for now. And then also this one. Alright, this should work. This will convert to a string. That's fine. Alright, so let's just add those variables here. I'm guessing just needed to add those here. Right, I don't know. This is the last chance that I give to my computer. If not, I will just go to vacations. Alright, so Azure OpenAI model here, and for the file we can put something like GPT 3.5 Turbo, and then we are gonna have these other two endpoint and an API key. So endpoint and API key. Okay, so we have our three variables, we have our post generator. Let's just test that. So let's just test it. Let's go to the API and then .NET build. Let's check if it works. It doesn't have warnings. Warnings are bad. Yeah, we have errors. That's worse. Web application builder doesn't contain for service. This is line 5. Okay, so this is not how you do things here. I guess I need to learn how to do it. Oh, this is services. Oh, sorry. I already saw two other issues. It's like we don't have like the reference for semantic kernel, so we need to add the reference here. That's fine. Yeah, so let's just add that. Oh, and then we need to use it, right? This is what I say, that maybe you can even have that code abstracted. Yeah, cool. Now we have it. Now, suppose that you can run this. Let's just run it. You can also see that we have app settings and app development settings. So this is cool because you can add your things here for development. You can even put your stuff here. Just make sure that you don't commit and push those. And all right, so we have an API living here. So let's just click it. It won't work because we haven't configured our endpoint for OpenAPI. We have hello world, so this is working, right? So now we need to do the post request, and it won't work, but it's fine. Like the API is up. There are many ways to test this. We are gonna add Swagger, and that's super cool and super easy to do. All right, enough. My computer doesn't want to work. I need to go for vacation. Bye bye.
Okay, so I'm in Houston, and after a week with the customer, I have some time before my flight departs, which is in 1 hour, and I want to continue doing this. So let's see. We're gonna check that our application still runs. Cool. And what we're gonna do is add in OpenAPI. And so the OpenAPI is a specification, is a way to document your API. It is also called Swagger because before OpenAPI, it was named as a Swagger. That was the name of the project, Swagger. But it became a specification, and now you can document what are your endpoints, what kind of parameters or classes it receives, how it responds, event authentication, and other stuff. So this is our post-generation API. Let me open it from here. And what we're going to do is we are going to add one package. So let's add that package. It's .NET add package. Microsoft ASP.NET Core.OpenAPI. And the Swagger thing provides a front end or a UI, so you can test and interact with your API. So we open this. We have now this. Cool. So the first one is using the API, the package. Then we are gonna add some services. The first one is add endpoints API Explorer, and the second is add Swagger generation. So Swagger generation will generate that specification, and the endpoints API Explorer will provide the front end. Now we don't want to provide this in production. In production, you will have your raw API where people can just do stuff, but in development, we want to test it. So a way to do that is check the configuration if the application is in development, and if it's in development, then you will use Swagger and use the Swagger UI. This is an extension. It's just methods that enable that front end. Now, for each one of the endpoints, we want to say that those are gonna get into the specification. So for that, you do two things. So the first one is say with name, and then you can say get hello world. This is how it will look like there. And this is an ID, so it needs to be unique. And the second one is gonna be with OpenAPI. This means that it will get into that front end. Let's do the same with our publication. So with name, host, publication, and with OpenAPI. Now let's run our application. Sorry, I was fixing one light that starts blinking and I forgot to hit record. So it was an error. We had an error. and what we did is we just added a new package. I forgot to add this swashbuckle SP netcore, and then that's it. That package provides some of the methods. And now, yeah, we have that. So and that's it. So let's open it. You can see this is the role. It doesn't add anything, but if we go to /Swagger, you can now see this beautiful front end. You can select on the top different versions. If you have different versions of your application, we have the endpoint, we have the schemas, where we can see our persona and topic, what types of values are those, and then we have our post application. And we can even try this. So you can just click here and then add like a doc. I want to write about climate change in a style that is fun. And you can see that we have an exception, right? Because we haven't specified our values of endpoint. So let's just do that. On endpoint, this is the API. Remember that we have app settings. So in our program, we are reading these 3 variables, and in our app settings, we have these 3 variables. So I will just add my information here, and I will hit pause because this is like secrets, the key is secret, but then I will be right back. Okay, so I have my settings in the app development, and if you don't know where to obtain this, I explained that in a previous video, but basically you go to your Azure portal, you put the endpoint and the key and the model. There are other ways to configure in a local Llama OpenAI or directly the OpenAI endpoint, or not using Azure. And in a previous video, I give an introduction, and maybe in the following videos, I will just exchange or like replace Azure with a local one. But once that we have that, let's just re-execute. And we can see now that we have this issue. And this is the issue where I was gonna came from. Like, this is the main thing about this video. So it says directory prompts could not be found. And if I go to my application, remember we have the API, we have the command line. I mean, maybe you remember because it has been like 30 seconds before, but for me, it has been 2 weeks since that I did this. So the prompts are in the SDK, and the SDK is the one that provides the class of the service. But when you are executing this in the API, the semantic kernel code is trying to look for the folder prompts in that project. So how to solve this? One way to do it is just copy the folder into the API, which is not ideal. Why? Because if we have, like, if we are reusing that SDK, for example, in the command line application, now we need to copy that there. Also, you want to manage that at the library level. That means that if you change a prompt, you don't want to update hundreds of prompts of projects. That also means that you want to like secure your prompts or have everything in that library itself, not having dependencies from the client that is using that library. So how to solve that? And this is the part that was frustrating for me, but it took me some time to figure it out. So the semantic kernel project does that, right? So it shares skills, and the skills has prompts, and some of the prompts are defined not in the code but in text files. So whenever you are compiling a library, you can not only compile or integrate binary code or execution code in .NET, you can also integrate or put in that file, in that library, extra assets, and those assets can be anything. In this case, we want to integrate those assets as text files. So this is as a part of the assembly, right? How to do that? So the first thing is to define those assets to be part of your assembly. And you will go to modify the project configuration. So the first thing that you need to do is go to the project configuration, project file definition, and we are going to add 2 item groups. So this is going to be the 2 item groups. So the first one is to define that we want to integrate our files or our assets as part of the assembly. It's this one. We're going to remove the config and the SKey prompt as part of the building that copies these files to the bin directory. And the second one is like we are going to embed those such resources into the assembly. And this is two resources that we want to embed. If we had more prompts, we want to add those here. Right now, if you build this, these prompts won't be part of the bug directory, and that directory is here, right? So let's check it out. If you go there, the files are not there anymore. They used to be, but now are part of the DLL. If you have a decompiler and you go to the DLL, you will be able to see such embedded resources. Now, how to access those prompts from the API side? If you remember, when we are doing the program, we are executing this. Create plugin from prompt directory, which is semantic kernel code that goes there and reads that directory. This directory still doesn't exist. What I want to do is read those from the DLL. How to do that? Well, for that, I will create a new class in the post generator SDK. This class is going to call embedded resource. This is an internal class based on semantic kernel code, and we are going to put the namespace, and this is the static class. I am copy pasting from a previous project that I had. This is going to get the assembly name, which is in case it's post generator SDK, and then if the assembly name is not there, it will say the assembly is not found. If the manifest file is not found, it will just say the manifest file is not found. Here, instead of having a slashes like prompt slash SDK prompt, we will have dot. So it's namespace post generator SDK dot prompt dot generate post. That's how we access such resources that are in different directories. And then we are going to have a stream reader, and then we are going to return the content of such resource. Important, because this is like assembly with dot. It is very important, and this is the namespace of the assembly. It's very important that the namespace matches the name of the assembly. So if you remember, when we created this project, we said .NET create library post generator SDK, and then we modified the namespace to post generator SDK. But if we decide that we want to have post generator .SDK, which is like most common, or I put something like Raccoon, which is the name of my company, my fictional company. I don't have a Raccoon company, but it's raccoon.postgenerator.sdk. Now also I need to change the name of the assembly, right? So very important, because I made that mistake. I usually, it's very hard in software development to name things and you change the name of the thing. So that's important, right? Trust me, I am saving you hours of debugging and having a decompiler just to check why you cannot access that embedded resource. All right, so we have this. Let's test first if our library compiles. Cool. Now, if you remember in the API, how we are creating this post generator service is to pass in the directory prompt. Instead of that, what we want to do is create like a different constructor. You can even create a factory. If you don't know about the factory pattern, we may explore that later. But for now, I just want to create a different constructor, a static method that is a mini factory inside that service, that instead of like expecting a folder, will go to the embedded resource, right? So let's just create that. So it's going to be static, so you don't need to instantiate the class to call this method. And we will have something like this. Yes, thanks, pilot. But instead of receiving, I will just receive the kernel, which the kernel is like the core for executing the post generator service. Now, the constructor expects a kernel prompt function. How to obtain that? So we will have our prompt template, right? Remember that the prompt template is the SK thing, and we will have embedded resource dot read. In this case, this is run Copilot. It's prompt dot generate post dot ski prompt. Remember that now we are changing the slashes by dots. Cool, right? And then we are going to use a different utility method. In this case, it's kernel.create function from prompt, which is usually what you do when you create a prompt programmatically without something in the, like if you want to create something, a dynamic prompt, and you define the string or you build the string in your code, that's how you get it, and then that's how you pass it. And now we have our library, beautiful Raccoon library with embedded prompt there that can be reused in unit testing, in APIs, in command line applications. And for me, what the part that is interesting is not this force refactor, it is the next thing, which is the unit testing and responsible AI, how to check that this is actually working. So this is the first step. This is nice. We have the STA prompt, we have the embedded resource. Now let's see if it works. So I will do .NET build. You don't need to do it, because if you go to the API and it works, that means that it works. But I mean, I just want to do it in steps. Now I will go to the API and I will hit .NET run. Remember, .NET will check that the file changed, so it needs to recompile, it needs to clear cache. Super intelligent and super beautiful, honestly. Again, you don't need any other language for most of these things. All right, so you open a new tab, but I can still access my Swagger thing. I can just try it out. This application JSON. Now I want to talk. I mean, I'm in Houston. Topic about Houston tech scene and persona. Texan. Well, the style will be Texan, but the persona is a software developer. Now let's execute this. Oh, I forgot to do something. So if you go to the API, we need to remove now this. We don't want to create this from prompts. What we want to do is call the new method that we created, right? So it's post generator service create. Sorry about that. Missed that. Sorry. Okay. Now it should work. Now let's recompile. Test it again. It's loading. It's taking more than 1 second. That means that it will work. All right. So response body, you all, the Houston tech, I cannot do. I cannot even talk properly in English. I cannot do my southern accent. But the Houston tech scene is hotter than a jalapeno in July, full of innovation yonder, the big Texas sky. Cool. So this sounds like something that I can put in a stereotype bot to just talk to Twitter or whatever. Yeah, so this is cool. So now, I mean, it works. So the API works, or command line application should still working, and we have our SDK now. So this is all that I wanted to show in this video, like how we introduce a refactor, how we create an API. So if you don't know how to create an API, this was a nice way to start. And then finally, we create an embedded resource, so we can reuse this SDK. I'm super excited because the next videos is things that are new things that you won't find in other videos, or very few videos. We're going to talk about responsible AI, how to validate your applications, your LLM applications, and this should get you to the next level, not only about building LLM applications. From here, you can put like a front end and create your own product, whatever, as many startups are doing. But the thing is, how do you ensure that your API, your AI application does what you say that it's gonna do, and it just doesn't go crazy, right? So anyway, thank you for watching, and if none of this makes sense, maybe you need to go back to the first video, and if these things make sense, just let me know. Thank you very much.